Breaking news. The director of the iCarly reboot, Phill Lewis, also played Mr. Mosby in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. The nostalgia in 2021 is really, really real, y'all. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review and recap of this week's episode of iCarly. Yes, the iCarly reboot that is now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. I did review the first 3 episodes of this season. It's on the channel. You can find it right at the top of the screen. It was actually pretty good overall. I didn't care for episode 3 at all, but episodes 1 and 2 felt like, well, iCarly. And of course, the cast is looking a little bit different with some new additions, but in case you forgot, yes, this series sees the return of Miranda Cosgrove as Carly, Trainor as Spencer, Nathan Kress as Freddie, and newcomers Laci Mosley as Harper, and Jaidyn Triplett as Millicent. Now, there's a lot to like in this 4th episode, and some things I didn't care for too much, but before we get into my review, guys, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I talk about movies and TV like this all the time, so you're not going to want to miss out. Go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, guys, and hit the big thumbs up button if you're a fan of iCarly. And hey, get loud in the comments down below and let me know what you thought of this week's episode of iCarly. Was it better than last week's episodes, or do you think that this is just okay? Let me know down below. Alrighty, y'all, so let's get right into it. Episode 4 is titled I Got Your Back, and it really features a lot more of Harper and Carly. Now, them being roommates, it just makes sense, and the story here is that Carly is trying to get ready for a red carpet appearance, but she finds out that her ex-boyfriend Beau and his new girlfriend will be at the same, I believe it's a fashion show, so if that's the case, she needs to one-up him, and she enlists in her friend Harper's help in getting her ready for the big night. And let me tell y'all, if there's a standout here, it is Harper. Laci Mosley does an amazing job at just going back and forth with Carly and anyone she's in the room with, and I love her comedic timing here. She's really turning out to be one of my most favorite characters in this reboot, simply for the fact that she's providing a different layer to the story, and I love the way she can clap back every now and then. But man, I really appreciate the fact that Laci Mosley and Miranda Cosgrove are just working together flawlessly. But that's not the only storyline here, guys. The B plot for this week's episode is Freddie trying to get back into the dating game. Like we learned last week with episodes 1 through 3, Freddie has a stepdaughter, and well, he doesn't have a relationship at the moment, so Spencer said, you know what, let's get my boy back on the dating game. And well, it doesn't turn out that well. And that's not to say that Trainor and Nathan Kress aren't great together. Again, they continue to be the best duo in the show, but I do love the fact that this storyline explored the more adult elements of this reboot. If I'm not mistaken, Trainor said in an interview that this show would explore more sensual themes, adult themes, and trust me, this has a lot of adult themes. Freddie ends up going out on a date with an escort. And if you don't know what an escort is, I would Wikipedia it. I don't know if you should Google what an escort is, but it's basically somebody hired to perform a certain job, and I'm saying that very carefully. But you know who doesn't beat around the bush? Carly, because, well, she lets her brother know that he's been using a sex worker website. Yes, it's an escort website, and yes, this is where you find a lot of innuendos and surprising elements in this reboot that you would not have found in the early 2000s for this show. But I mean, here we are. We're in 2021, and these are our favorite characters all grown up. But I'm not gonna lie, though, there were some really funny elements to this, and Freddie being on that date with that woman, and just him being so oblivious to everything was hilarious. And I've pretty much come to expect that this reboot will incorporate a lot more language, and I'm not just talking different languages other than English. I'm talking about using the B word and stuff like that. You know, I think that this show is definitely showing a side of it that is a more mature turn of events for this series, and I kind of like that because, hey, we're in a different era, and there is one character that I think represents us being in that different era pretty well, and that is Millicent. Jaidyn Triplett here again continues to pander to the Gen Zers, but she is that direct link for any audiences that are a part of the Gen Z group. Whether it be her on her phone all the time trying to post to her channel, or using phrases like, oh, spill the tea, sis. Like, these are things that I love, and I think that a lot of younger audiences will come to appreciate. I know some people were in my comments in last week's video saying that Jaidyn Triplett did not work for the series, but I think she's doing a really good job, and I didn't like her direction or the character's direction in episode 3 last week, but in episode 4, Millicent really fits in very well with Harper and Carly. And speaking of Harper and Carly, guys, there is something here that happened that didn't happen last week, and that is Carly and Harper getting into their first big fight. And hey, that happens because best friends, relationships, they go through those little hurdles every now and then, but I love that Carly and Harper, they were able to grow from that, and it almost feels like their relationship together was even stronger. Now, there are some things that this show will hopefully do more of and less of as we get into the second half of this week's episode. Let's start with Spencer and Carly. There was a moment they shared together towards the latter half of this episode where Carly pretty much educated her brother on the fact that he was using the wrong website and paying for a date for Freddie. Now, it was very funny, but also it was grounded in a little bit of realism because the topic of sex workers is really, it can be tough and triggering for some audiences, so I'm glad they skirted over it, but at least they were able to get through it without, I think, making light of the situation. But outside of that, I do hope we get more moments with them because it was very effective. They were humorous together, and honestly, they're a dynamic that I think needs to work for the reboot to work as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. And then when it comes to the story itself, between Harper and Carly going to the red carpet, I thought that moment was really funny with them both together trying to conceal the fact that Carly's dress was ripping apart at the seams because it wasn't properly fitted. And the story is there, you guys will see, you know what I'm talking about. But I thought it was really funny. Laci, Mosley, and Miranda Cosgrove play off each other again very well, but I anticipated that maybe Carly and Harper would run into Beau and his new girlfriend, and that never happened, and I think that was a missed opportunity, but maybe we'll kind of revisit the whole Beau-Carly situation as the season goes on. But as it stands, guys, Freddie is still going to just be a good father to his stepdaughter, and you have Harper, well, swinging for the fences. This was an episode where, again, the show dives into the fact that Harper is bisexual. She leans into men and she leans into women. So this show, again, is showing its maturity, and there are layers here to this reboot that I think really works. And overall, so far through 4 episodes, guys, the only episode I'll tell you that I didn't care for was episode 3, because episode 4 was a return to form from what we saw in episode 2. I gotta give big props to Paramount Plus, all the writers, directors, the cast, and the crew, because this reboot is working for me. It's providing something that I didn't think would be successful in 2021. Now, what I hope they do as the series goes on is show us even more character progression for our cast here. I do want to see Carly maybe get into a relationship this season. I would love to see how Freddie handles maybe having to face a custody battle or something like that. You know, it would be very interesting to see them add in more elements of realism into a show that is really just about being awkwardly funny. So if you ask me, guys, yes, episode 4 is a total success, and I was incredibly happy with what we got. And again, 13 episodes is what was ordered for this season, so we're getting closer and closer to the midway point of this season, and I can't wait until next week when we can talk about episode 5, because I don't even know where they go from here, but I'm gonna be in my seat when they do. So there you have it, guys. That's my real review of episode 4, but I need to know what you have to say about this episode. Go ahead and get loud down below and let me know if I got your back. Well, made you happy? Did it make you smile? Or were you a little disappointed? And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and hit that big thumbs up button if you want to continue to see more reviews just like this for iCarly, because guys, I'm sorry, my childhood is back and it's here to stay. Well, not all of it. We don't really claim the SpongeBob movies that are coming out, do we? Well, maybe we do. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.